The sky split open as the massive alien warships descended on Earth, their sleek, metallic forms blotting out the sun and casting long shadows over the cities below. The invaders had come to hunt, and humanity was their prey. From their vantage point, the alien predators watched the chaos unfold with cold, calculating eyes. They had done this before on countless other planets. Each time, the pattern was the same. They would land, stalk their prey, and kill without mercy, harvesting the strongest for sport while eradicating the weak. Earth, to them, was just another planet to conquer. These aliens, known as the Rock Core, were a ruthless species. Taller and stronger than humans, they had evolved specifically to hunt. Their entire society revolved around conquest and bloodshed. Clad in advanced biosuits that enhanced their strength and reflexes, they wielded weapons far beyond anything Earth could muster in defense. They didn't just fight to win, they fought for the thrill of the chase, the joy of watching their prey squirm and run before the inevitable kill. They had never faced defeat, and certainly didn't expect it here. Humanity, in their eyes, was weak and unworthy. They came to Earth expecting an easy hunt, a slaughter, and an effortless victory. The first signs of the invasion were subtle. Strange lights in the sky, distorted communications, and unusual energy readings picked up by government agencies across the world. But by the time anyone realized what was happening, it was too late. The Raw Core struck with precision, targeting major population centers without warning. New York, London, Beijing, and countless other cities found themselves under siege within minutes of the invasion. The Raw Core moved swiftly, deploying hunting parties into the streets, methodically eliminating anything that moved. They reveled in the confusion and terror that rippled through the crowds of people, their cold, predatory instincts honing in on the fear that saturated the air. In New York City, chaos erupted as the Raw Core forces landed. The streets were filled with panicked civilians running for their lives, while the military scrambled to organize a defense. Fighter jets were deployed, tanks rolled through the streets, and soldiers armed with rifles took up positions. But the humans' weapons were little more than toys against the Raw Core's advanced armor and weaponry. Plasma bursts from alien rifles vaporized anything they touched, reducing buildings and people alike to smoldering craters. The city, once vibrant and bustling, turned into a battleground where humans were hunted like animals. The Raw Core moved with deadly efficiency, their tactical coordination flawless. They hunted in small squads, each group moving with lethal precision as they cut through the human forces. They didn't fear death or resistance. They had conquered more advanced civilizations than this one. To them, humanity was just another weak, primitive species. As the Raw Core pushed deeper into the city, the bodies piled up. Streets once teeming with life were now littered with rubble and the dead. The human military fought valiantly, but their bullets barely scratched the surface of the Raw Core's biosuits. Every skirmish was a slaughter, with the humans outmatched at every turn. In a hidden command center beneath the city, the human leaders tried to make sense of the invasion. Communications were down, and chaos reigned. General Roberts, an experienced military strategist, watched the footage on the monitors, his face grim. The alien forces were unstoppable, and they were tearing through the human defenses like tissue paper. Every attempt to push them back had ended in failure. He could see the fear in the faces of his soldiers, but there was something else: an anger, a refusal to submit, even in the face of certain death. The Raw Core, meanwhile, underestimated humanity's resilience. They saw the fear and confusion, but they didn't see the determination simmering beneath the surface. Humans were different from the other species they had hunted. They were more stubborn, more unpredictable, and they had a capacity for survival that the Raw Core could not fully comprehend. The aliens were about to learn that while humans might seem like prey, they were anything but defenseless. In the heart of the city, a small group of survivors had banded together, led by a former Special Forces operative named Maya. She had seen combat before, but nothing like this. Still, she wasn't one to give up easily. As the alien forces hunted down stragglers, Maya and her group hid in the ruins of a collapsed building, watching the alien hunters through binoculars. She studied their movements, the way they communicated, the way they moved as a unit. The raw core were highly skilled, but they had a flaw. They were overconfident, certain that no human could outwit them. Maya whispered to the group, explaining her plan. They couldn't match the aliens in firepower, but they could outsmart them. Using the rubble of the city to their advantage, they would set traps, lure the raw core into ambushes, and strike when the aliens least expected it. The first step was to disable their communications, isolating them from their main forces. Maya had seen the way the raw core relied on their technology. Without it, they were vulnerable. The group moved quietly through the ruins, avoiding patrols and staying out of sight. They scavenged supplies, built makeshift weapons, and prepared for the fight of their lives. As the city burned around them, they knew they had one chance to turn the tide. The aliens might have come to kill, but they hadn't expected humans to fight back with such ferocity. Maya's group worked swiftly under the cover of darkness, using the ruins of the city to their advantage. The raw core's overconfidence was their first and most glaring mistake. They assumed that because humans lacked their advanced technology, they posed no threat. But Maya knew better. Humans had always been creatures of adaptation, survival, and innovation. And now, with their backs against the wall, it was time to prove just how dangerous they could be when pushed to the brink. The group had managed to locate one of the Ray Core's communication relays, a sleek, alien device that glowed with an eerie green light, transmitting signals back and forth between their hunting squads. It was heavily guarded, but Maya had observed something interesting. The raw core soldiers guarding the relay weren't as vigilant as they should be. They seemed to believe no human would dare approach their equipment, let alone try to sabotage it. This arrogance would be their undoing. Creeping through the shadows, Maya and her team approached the relay, using the debris of fallen buildings to mask their movements. With crude but effective jamming devices, cobbled together from salvaged electronics, they planned to disrupt the raw core's communications, throwing their forces into disarray. As they got closer, Maya signaled to her team, and they moved into position. A sudden explosion lit up the night as one of their homemade EMP bombs went off, sending a shockwave through the relay. The alien guards, caught off guard, scrambled to figure out what had happened, but it was too late. The humans attacked with the element of surprise, catching the raw core in close combat. Maya had instructed her team to aim for the weaker points in the aliens' biosuits' joints, necks, and the exposed sections under their arms. Despite the aliens' physical superiority in the chaos of close-quarter combat, their reliance on technology became their greatest weakness. One by one, the raw core fell, their advanced weaponry rendered useless by the EMP blast. Maya's group struck with ruthless efficiency, using everything they had: blades, blunt instruments, and even broken pieces of debris to finish off the aliens. The humans had no time to savor their victory. With the relay destroyed, they knew the rest of the raw core would soon notice the disruption. As expected, the loss of communication sent ripples through the alien forces. Their once flawless coordination faltered. Without their network of relays, the raw core squads were now isolated from each other, unable to call for reinforcements or share vital tactical information. This was exactly the opportunity Maya had been waiting for. Meanwhile, in other parts of the city, similar groups of survivors began to form. News of Maya's successful ambush spread quickly through the underground networks of human resistance fighters. Ordinary citizens, military remnants, and even criminals found themselves working together, united by a single goal: survival. While the raw core were stronger and more technologically advanced, they had underestimated the one thing that made humans truly dangerous: their unpredictability. Across the city, pockets of resistance began to strike back at the raw core. They used the environment to their advantage, turning the ruined landscape of the city into a deadly labyrinth for the aliens. They laid traps, pits covered with debris, tripwires that triggered explosive devices, and even makeshift flamethrowers crafted from gasoline tanks and old lighters. The raw core were not used to fighting a war of attrition. They were predators, used to quick, decisive victories. But now they found themselves on unfamiliar ground, facing a prey that refused to give in. As the humans struck back, they began to learn more about their enemies. Maya, ever the strategist, observed the raw core closely during each encounter. She noticed how they hesitated when faced with unpredictable attacks, how they reacted poorly to ambushes and sudden assaults. The raw core relied heavily on their technology, and when that was taken away from them, they were far less effective. They were skilled fighters, but they lacked the adaptability that had allowed humans to survive and thrive for millennia. Maya's group continued their hit-and-run tactics, targeting key raw core outposts and supply depots. Each victory, no matter how small, gave the humans more confidence. They scavenged alien weapons and armor, learning how to use them against their enemies. The tide was slowly beginning to turn. The raw core, once confident in their superiority, were now starting to experience something they had never felt before: fear. For the first time, the raw core were losing control of the hunt. Humans, who they had considered nothing more than helpless prey, were now actively hunting them. The alien squads, once so precise and deadly, became paranoid and defensive, constantly looking over their shoulders, expecting another ambush. The humans had flipped the script, and now it was the raw core who were being stalked. In the aftermath of one particularly successful raid, Maya's group managed to capture a raw core alive. It was a rare opportunity. The raw core, known for their fierce loyalty to their own kind, seldom left survivors, and they rarely allowed themselves to be captured. Maya had no illusions about what she would learn from their captive. The raw core would not willingly share their secrets, but they didn't need to. The humans could learn plenty just from examining the aliens' armor and weaponry up close. In a makeshift lab hidden deep in the ruins, a group of engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to reverse engineer the alien technology. They were able to crack some of the basics: how the weapons worked, how the biosuits enhanced the raw core's physical abilities, and most importantly, how to disable them. It was slow work, but with every discovery, humanity gained a crucial advantage. What the raw core had intended as tools of domination were slowly becoming humanity's instruments of survival. Meanwhile, the raw core leadership was beginning to panic. Their forces were dwindling, their communications were compromised, and they were losing ground to a species they had believed to be inferior. The raw core warlords, arrogant and proud, refused to acknowledge that they had made a mistake. Instead, they doubled down, sending more elite hunters into the field, determined to crush the resistance once and for all. But the humans were ready. Maya and her team had learned the raw core's tactics. They knew how to anticipate their movements, how to bait them into traps, and how to exploit their weaknesses. The raw core had come to Earth expecting an easy hunt, but now they were caught in a war of attrition, a war they were ill-equipped to fight. The turning point came when the humans, using a combination of guerrilla warfare and their newfound knowledge of alien technology, managed to take down a key raw core command center. It was a devastating blow to the aliens, not just tactically but psychologically. The raw core had always seen themselves as superior hunters, but now they were the ones being hunted. The raw core leadership, now realizing that their easy conquest of Earth had spiraled into a drawn-out war, responded with brutality. They deployed their most elite hunters, veterans of countless planetary conquests, determined to stamp out human resistance before it could spread any further. These hunters were larger, faster, and more ruthless than any Maya's group had encountered before, armed with even deadlier technology. But despite their superior strength and weapons, the humans had learned too much. The raw core's predatory instincts were failing them in the face of human resilience and adaptability. Maya and her team had continued to gather intelligence, mapping out the raw core's movements and anticipating their strategies. The captured raw core prisoner had provided just enough insight into their communication systems and command structure to allow the humans to plan their next major strike. They now knew that the raw core had a central command ship hovering just outside Earth's atmosphere, coordinating the ground forces. If they could disable or destroy that ship, the aliens' entire operation on Earth would collapse. The challenge was immense. The raw core's command ship was heavily fortified, surrounded by a fleet of smaller vessels that patrolled its perimeter. But Maya and her team weren't thinking of a direct assault. They had something more creative in mind. The humans had developed a plan that involved using the aliens' own technology against them. They had been reverse engineering the Raw Core's weaponry and systems for weeks, and now it was time to put that knowledge to the test. As the humans prepared for their boldest move yet, the Raw Core continued their relentless assaults. The streets of New York and other major cities had become battlegrounds where alien hunters stalked human resistance fighters. The Raw Core were now hunting out of desperation rather than sport. They had lost too many soldiers, and their confidence had been shattered. The once proud predators now moved cautiously, their eyes scanning every shadow, expecting another ambush. In one of the ruins of a city park, a fierce battle erupted. Maya's team had set a trap, luring a group of elite Raw Core hunters into an ambush. The plan had been simple: bait the Raw Core with a decoy and then hit them with everything they had. But these were not the same hunters the humans had faced before. These elite Raw Core were faster and more cunning, and they quickly realized they were being led into a trap. A firefight broke out, with plasma bolts and bullets lighting up the darkened park. Maya's team, outnumbered and outgunned, fought with everything they had. They had become experts in using the environment to their advantage, ducking in and out of cover, using the rubble to shield themselves from the Raw Core's relentless assault. The aliens, meanwhile, used their advanced biosuits to leap from one piece of debris to another, closing the distance between themselves and the humans. One of the Raw Core hunters lunged at Maya, swinging a massive energy blade that could cut through steel. Maya barely dodged, rolling to the side and firing her rifle at the alien's exposed neck. The shot landed, and the Raw Core staggered back, hissing in pain. But the alien wasn't dead yet. It charged again, faster this time, its blade raised for a killing blow. Just before the Raw Core could strike, a makeshift explosive device planted earlier by one of Maya's teammates went off, engulfing the alien in a fiery explosion. The Raw Core's bio-suit protected it from the worst of the blast, but it was disoriented just long enough for Maya to deliver the final shot. The alien fell, and Maya took a moment to catch her breath. Around her, the rest of her team was finishing off the remaining Raw Core hunters, using a combination of human ingenuity and scavenged alien weapons. The victory, though hard-fought, was crucial. The Raw Core were running out of options, and they knew it. Maya's team had proven that humans could not only survive but fight back effectively. However, the real fight was yet to come. The humans now had to take the battle to the Raw Core's command ship, a task that seemed impossible, but Maya had a plan. Under the cover of night, Maya's team moved toward a hidden Raw Core outpost where they had identified a critical piece of alien technology that could be their key to infiltrating the command ship. The Raw Core had been using teleportation technology to move between the surface and their ships. It was highly advanced, but Maya's team had managed to figure out how it worked. They intended to hijack the teleportation signal and use it to board the command ship directly. The operation was a gamble, but they had no choice. They couldn't hold out against the Raw Core forever. The human resistance had grown, but resources were running low and the constant battles were taking their toll. If they could disable the command ship, they could break the Raw Core's hold on Earth once and for all. Maya's team launched their assault on the outpost, fighting through waves of Raw Core soldiers. The battle was intense, with the alien defenders throwing everything they had at the humans, but Maya's team had become experts at fighting the Raw Core. They used the aliens' own tactics against them, drawing them into narrow corridors where their advanced weapons were less effective and using MPs to disable their suits. Finally, they reached the teleportation device. As Maya's team secured the room, a scientist among them began hacking into the Raw Core's systems, attempting to reroute the teleportation signal. Time was running out. The Raw Core would soon send reinforcements, and they needed to act fast. With a final command, the device activated, and Maya's team was engulfed in a blinding light. Moments later, they found themselves aboard the Raw Core command ship. The sleek, metallic corridors of the alien vessel were eerily quiet, but Maya knew that wouldn't last long. They had to move quickly. Their target was the ship's central power core. If they could sabotage it, they could cripple the entire vessel. Maya led her team through the maze-like interior of the ship, avoiding patrols and using their knowledge of rock core technology to bypass security systems. The tension was palpable. Every step brought them closer to either victory or death. Finally, they reached the core. It was a massive, pulsating machine at the heart of the ship, radiating a strange, alien energy. Maya's team set the charges, carefully placing them at critical points around the core. As they worked, the ship's alarm suddenly blared to life. The raw core knew they were there. The next few moments were a blur of motion. Raw core soldiers poured into the chamber, firing plasma bolts as they tried to stop the humans. Maya and her team fought back fiercely, holding the aliens at bay while the last of the charges were set. The ship trembled as the countdown began. With seconds to spare, Maya gave the order to retreat. The team sprinted for the teleportation chamber, firing at the pursuing raw core as they went. Just as they reached the chamber, the charges detonated. The ship shook violently, explosions tearing through its structure. Maya's team activated the teleportation device just in time, vanishing from the ship as it began to collapse. Back on Earth, they watched as the Ara Core Command ship erupted into flames in the sky, breaking apart and falling to the ground in a fiery wreck. The alien forces on the surface, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat. For the first time since the invasion had begun, humanity had the upper hand. The sky was ablaze with debris from the Ra Core Command ship, scattering like burning stars as it broke apart, falling back to Earth. The explosion was visible from nearly every corner of the planet, a signal to the scattered survivors that something had changed. The seemingly unstoppable invaders, who had arrived with the intent to hunt and slaughter humans, had been dealt a crippling blow. For the first time since the invasion began, there was a collective sense of hope. The Ra Core, stripped of their leadership and central command, were now the ones in disarray. Maya and her team had barely made it back to the surface when they were greeted by cheers from the resistance forces. Exhausted, bruised, and battered, they were hailed as heroes. But there was no time to celebrate. Despite the destruction of the command ship, the Ra Core were still present in large numbers on Earth, and though their leadership had been severed, they were far from defeated. Now leaderless, the Ra Core forces had devolved into smaller, fragmented hunting packs, each more dangerous in their desperation. In the days following the destruction of the command ship, humanity capitalized on the confusion among the alien invaders. Resistance forces from across the globe launched coordinated strikes against the remaining Ra Core outposts. Cities that had once been strongholds of alien dominance were reclaimed inch by inch as human ingenuity and determination won out over the Ra Core's superior technology. Guerrilla tactics, learned through months of brutal warfare, became even more effective as the humans pressed their advantage. What had begun as a fight for survival had now become a campaign for total liberation. Still, the cost of victory weighed heavily on Maya and the other survivors. The cities lay in ruins, with millions dead and entire nations brought to their knees. The alien invasion had left deep scars, both on the land and in the hearts of the people who had witnessed unimaginable horrors. Families had been torn apart, communities decimated, and the world they had known before the Ra Core arrived was forever changed. Maya stood on the crumbling rooftop of a building that overlooked what had once been a thriving metropolis. Now it was a wasteland of rubble and broken streets. But amidst the devastation, there were signs of life. Groups of survivors were emerging from hiding, some carrying salvaged supplies, others helping the injured. She watched as a group of children, their faces smeared with dirt but alive, played in the streets with whatever scraps of toys they could find. It was a small moment of normalcy in a world that had been anything but. But as much as the victory over the Ra Core was a cause for celebration, Maya knew the road to recovery would be long. The war had united humanity in ways no one had expected. People from different nations, backgrounds, and walks of life had come together to fight a common enemy. That unity was something she hoped would last, even after the immediate threat was gone. But there was something else that troubled her, something that lingered in the back of her mind. The Ra Core had been a powerful foe, But they had come to Earth as part of a much larger galactic conquest. What if they weren't the only ones out there? Humanity had survived, yes, but they had also drawn the attention of forces beyond their understanding. Maya could only wonder what other alien civilizations had taken notice of Earth. Now that the rock core had fallen, would others come to test humanity's resilience? Or had the destruction of the rock core's invasion sent a message that Earth was not to be trifled with? For now, though, the focus was on rebuilding. Across the globe, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology left behind. Salvaged rock core ships, weapons, and tools were being studied in secret laboratories and research centers. The human race was on the verge of a technological leap, one that would catapult them into a new era of advancement. Reverse engineering the alien tech wasn't easy, but it was the key to humanity's future. It wouldn't be long before humans would no longer be limited to the confines of their planet. The remnants of the rock core, scattered and leaderless, became increasingly erratic in their behavior. Some tried to escape the planet, their ships limping toward the stars, only to be shot down by human forces. Others, too proud or stubborn to retreat, fought to the bitter end, launching desperate attacks on human settlements. But one by one, they were hunted down and eliminated, just as they had once hunted humans. The roles had completely reversed. The raw core were now the prey, hiding in the ruins of a planet they had hoped to conquer. Maya and her team were relentless in tracking down the remaining raw core forces. They knew that as long as even a small pocket of aliens remained, the threat to humanity wasn't fully over. Each skirmish was a grim reminder of the price of victory. Yet, with each alien brought down, there was a sense of closure. The final battle came in the wreckage of what had once been a raw core fortress. After days of fighting, Maya's team cornered the last of the raw core warlords, a towering figure who had orchestrated much of the destruction. With his death, the invasion was finally, definitively over. In the weeks that followed, humanity began to pick up the pieces. Reconstruction efforts were launched worldwide, and a new sense of purpose began to emerge. The raw core invasion had fundamentally changed the human race. They were no longer just survivors of an alien attack, they were victors, and they had proven themselves capable of facing the galaxy's most fearsome predators. This victory, however, came at a great cost, and it was clear that the world would never be the same again. As Earth rebuilt, a new movement began to take shape. Leaders from across the globe started discussing the possibility of forming a planetary defense alliance, one that would ensure humanity was never caught off guard again. There was talk of using the salvaged alien technology to construct ships capable of defending Earth, and perhaps even exploring beyond it. For the first time, humanity had the tools and the motivation to reach for the stars, not as prey, but as predators in their own right. Maya, now considered a hero by many, found herself at the center of these discussions. She had no desire for fame or recognition, but she understood the importance of what lay ahead. The raw core had come to Earth with the intent to kill, but in the process, they had forged something far more dangerous than they could have ever anticipated humanity's resolve. As the sun set on another day of rebuilding, Maya looked up at the sky, where the last remnants of the raw core ships had vanished into the void. Earth had survived. Humanity had not just endured the invasion, they had thrived in its aftermath. The raw core had made one fatal mistake: they had underestimated their prey. Now humanity was stronger, more united, and more dangerous than ever before. The future lay ahead, uncertain but full of possibility. Earth had become a proving ground, and in the process, humanity had transformed from a hunted species into one that would never again be seen as weak. The galaxy would soon learn what the raw core had learned too late: humans were not prey. They were predators,